Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today is the first Wednesday in October, and so that means it's time for our global monthly video collaboration group. And for those of you who have followed me for a little while, you know that on the first Wednesday of every month, demonstrators with Stampin' Up from across the world, we all get together and we make a project. It could be a card or a 3D item, and we all use the same theme. And because it's October, our theme is, of course, trick or treat. So what I'm going to make is a little bag in a box that my friend Diane Inkster made. She's a demonstrator in Ontario, and she very kindly shared with me how to make this. And I used it for some of my autumn card classes, and I'm actually making these favours for my Thanksgiving table. And what it is just half a piece of designer series paper, and it's cut and folded into just the cutest little box, which is a really good size, because once you put a little bag inside, you could fit candies, you can fit cookies, chocolates, you could put a bath bomb and little toiletries in. You do actually get quite a lot in there. And if you didn't want to have this in, if you had an item that just fits nicely in a box, then you could use ribbon just to make the handles, or little card handles, and you don't need the little bag. But because this is what Diane showed me and I loved it so much, I'm going to show you just how she showed me. So I'm using some of the designer series paper from this August to December catalogue. And I don't usually buy a lot of Halloween items because we don't do much for Halloween anymore. We don't have small children, and so, I do put candy out for the local children, but it's not something that we do much of. But I fell in love with this paper from the Halloween section. And actually, it's not only for Halloween. The paper itself, let me show you. It's called Magic in This Night, and it's quite a nice selection of paper that really, if you didn't want to use the Halloween side, the other side is just fantastic for all sorts of projects. I love this. I love this black flower. I think that's one of the prettiest sheets. But on the back, you can see it's more Halloween. It's got bats and things. And then this paper, I've actually used some of this for my little favour bags for my Thanksgiving table, because that's just such a beautiful autumnal colours. And on the back, it does have a pattern. It can be Halloween, but equally, this one again, it doesn't have to be Halloween. Let's find the next page. Next page is the same pattern, and on the back, it's more Halloweeny. See how it's got these bats and things? And then this one is really pretty, but I like the back of it. That one is Halloween because it's got little spiders' webs and things, but you have to look really closely to see that it's a spider's web. But I love this stripe, and I think that's going to be great for lots of our masculine cards. And then this one. I love this one, but this one's my absolute favourite. I love the pretty peacock anyway, and this would make great Christmas cards, birthday, any occasion that would look gorgeous with. And on the back, it has more of the flowers. So, either side of this, it's not Halloweeny if you don't want it to be. So, and then the last piece is the piece I'm going to use, the one with the spiders. But on the back, it's like that harlequin pattern. So again, that would be great for masculine cards. So let me pop this away and show you how to make the little bag. The other thing that I'm using for this is right at the back of this catalogue. So it's on sort of the last page of items, and it's this little treats bundle. You do get the dies to make these little boxes to pop treats in. That's not what I'm going to use though. I'm just going to use the little round die, a little spider die, and I'm using the stamp from here that says a little treat for someone sweet. because I thought that fitted my theme just perfectly. So to start off, you need to cut your paper in half. Now, if your paper has a really sort of a pattern that you can really see and is very evident, you need to make sure that your pattern is running the correct way across here, because that is going to be the sides of our bags and the front of our bag. So if your pattern's running this way, you know, your bag's sort of on a cockle and it's not quite how you wanted it. So just make sure when you cut, you make it so that the pattern is running across the paper. And as I said, you only need half a sheet. You could easily make a card with some of the rest of this designer series paper, a few cards actually, but you could make matching things that go with the bag. So you're going to need your scoring board, or I always use my trimmer because I just find it a little bit easier. And so with the long side across the top, we're going to score it at 4 inches. So we're just going to line the paper up at 4. Make sure we haven't got our cutting blade in the way. We're just going to go score it at 4. Then we're going to score at 5 3/4. And the sizings will be on my blog. So hop over to my blog if you need to see the sizings. Don't worry about writing it down now. The next one is going to be at 9 3/4. And the last one is going to be at 11 1/2. Let's put it all the way over there. And then we're just going to turn it round. So now you've got the short side at the top, and you're going to score at 1 inch. And again at 4 3/4. And the 1 inch side is going to be the top of the bag. It's going to be where the bag folds over. Let's close that and pop it down out of the way. Let's get my scissors out for, I'm going to need them in a moment. Okay, so the first thing, after you've got all those score lines, you can actually see them better on the black side. But after you've got all of those, we're going to fold this top 1 inch piece down, and we're going to fold it down flat. Let me just find my bone folder. I'm just going to go over there just to make sure it's folded flat. And then I'm actually going to adhere it down as well at the same time. I'm going to use my Tombow glue. You could use your stamping seal, or one thing that I really do like for making bags is the tear and tape, because it's easy to get that in a nice straight line. I think this is nearly empty. Might have to undo another one. Okay, and then I'm just going to fold that down, and I'm going to go over it with my bone folder just to squeeze that glue right down to the edges. There. Okay. And now, where all of those fold lines are, I'm just going to fold it, just crease it. I'm not going to burnish it at the moment. I'm just going to go down those lines, and then the other line that goes all the way along, I'm just going to fold that one as well, just so that we've got those folds started. And next, I'm just going to get my scissors, and we're going to cut these ones just in a straight line. I'm not going to do any mitering. Let's use my small scissors. Sometimes when you've seen me make bags and things, I've mitered these little pieces here, but for this you don't need to. It's a really quick, easy bag. I just can't see where that fold is. Oh, there it is. Okay. So that's all of them. So you only have to do 3 cuts. Okay. Now, when you start to put your bag together, I haven't folded that piece. When you start to put your pieces together, this is going to be your inside seam, and that's the one I always start with, because then you know you've got your bag all set and it's square. if you start folding these in first and begin to glue them, sometimes you end up where the bag's not quite square. Makes it just a bit more difficult. So again, with your glue or with your tear and tape, you're going to go down, but we're not going to do this little piece here at the moment. I like to get this in and make sure it's all flat and square. You might just have to hold it for a moment. And then as you can feel that it's starting to stick, that's when I like to fold it flat and just go over it, just where that edge is. And that should be all beautifully sealed and nice and square. Okay. And then when you're working with your bag, I like to keep that seam there at the back. I don't want it at the front. You can't really see it from the outside. I just know that that's where that seam is. And because it's a double thickness, I don't want it showing at the front. So I always hold that way. Now, when you fold these pieces in, I forgot to cut one. I think there was 4 cuts and I only did 3, didn't I? Okay. When you fold these in, you'll see that, let's fold it this way. You'll see that the bottom pieces don't come all the way up to this edge. It isn't because you've cut it wrong, they just don't go all the way across. I'm not going to worry about this little piece here. I'm just going to pop glue onto this piece. Let's take my lid off again. And I find this easier to do with glue for this section, easier than using the tear tape, because I can just manipulate this a little bit better and make sure I've got it at the edges and just hold it for a second. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of glue over here. And I know that this isn't coming all the way down to the end, so I'm just going to put, sorry, you can't see there, can you? I'm just going to put a little bit at the edges like this. Just a little bit all the way across. I would rather have less glue there than have glue all the way down here. It's squeezing out. As you fold over, you can see how much more space you've got. I'll just do one little extra row. Okay. I'm going to turn it upside down, get my bone folder, and I'm just going to squash it through the middle, just to make sure those edges are sticking. Okay, and then check that all looks good. It looks nice and square. It's still gluing. Okay, and then I've got just a little piece of Blackberry Bliss, which is what this colour is here. I've got a little piece of the cardstock, just the right size to fit down there. You don't even have to glue it if you don't want to, but it's just going to pop down there. It's a bit difficult to see. I've chosen a dark colour. And squash it down with your bone folder. And there we go. That just gives you a little bit of stability on the bottom. Okay, now we're going to put that on one side while we get the little bag ready and the tag. I'm just going to pop my bone folder away, so excuse me. And then I told you that I was going to use the stamps. I have already stamped this on a little piece of Whisper White using my Blackberry Bliss. And let me find it, here it is. And then I cut it out with that circle die, with this one. And you can see, oh, you can't see because I've hidden it. You can see it's got a little stitched edge all the way around it. And then that little scallop, it's a really pretty one for a tag. And the only other piece I've used is this little spider. And can you see just on there, there's little squirrels in there, so that will emboss. It won't cut those, but it will emboss. Now, one thing to know about that, let's put that back. Something that I didn't realise was I stamped the little spider here, expecting that that die cut it out. But when you see, let me get that die back. When you put the die on top of that spider, you can see that it's not going to cut that out because its little legs are showing there. And if you try and line those legs up, then you just can't. So that doesn't cut out the stamped image. Let's put that back because we don't need that anymore. So what I did was I found a little scrap of Blackberry Bliss and I cut out the spider. And can you see that very nice subtle embossing on there as well? So I've cut this out. I've put a little tiny dimensional on there. I'm just going to take the backing off. And I'm just going to add this little spider on an angle just on my tag like that. And then I've punched a hole and I'm going to use that black sparkly organdy ribbon that we have. And it's an ideal one for Halloween, isn't it? You know, you can't go wrong with that. I do have a few more little spiders that I cut out as well. And you could cut lots of these and pop them in with the bag and use them as confetti. I'm going to pop just a few on my bag once I've got it all finished. These are the little cellophane bags that we use in the 6x8 cellophane bags. And I've already selected a bag, popped a couple of treats inside, just a little fun size packets. And then we're just going to gather the top up. Let me see which way my bag is. I've got that seam at the back. So I'm going to pop those in there. And then I'm going to use a little bit of this organdy ribbon just to tie around it. Let's chop a piece off. I'm going to just knot it once and then put the little tag on. I'm sorry, that's really noisy, isn't it? Okay, I'm just going to tie a little knot so that it's not going to move. And then let's find our tag. Just going to add it in here. You could tie this in with a little piece of twine as well. That might actually be better. Let's try that. Ooh, got little bits of glitter around. Let's find a little piece of white twine. That might work easier, just to knot it over. The ones that I did for my autumn class, I used the faux suede ribbon. It was a little bit narrower, but it tied much easier than this. So I'm just going to pop that there. I'm going to put another little knot over the top so that it doesn't come apart. Let's pull that down a bit. I'll tie a little bow. Puff that little bow up a bit. I'm going to take off the little excess that we don't need there. And then I'm going to leave the tails long. And it actually, look, it's fairly even. So we'll leave that like that. And then I'm going to get some more of my little stamping dimensionals. Let's see where they're hiding. Here they are. I'm going to pop the dimensionals on the back. And then I'm just going to sort of decorate the front of the bag just by putting a few of these on. You could cut them out in a different colour if you wanted. You could do, I could have done black because that's the coordinating colour. And I'm not putting them on in any pattern at all. I'm just adding them in random spaces. And so there we are. That's my little trick or treat bag. Let's move this glitter. My little trick or treat bag for the October Halloween trick or treat global video. Don't forget to check out the names at the bottom. I will link everybody else that's taking part this month and have a look to see what they made. Thank you ever so much for watching me, and if this was your first time here, thank you especially for coming over from somebody else's video to see my video. I really appreciate it. Thanks everybody. Bye bye.